Hello fellow bakers, my name is Chris. If you haven't been with me before, welcome, and today we are going to make chocolate sugar cookies recipe number 2. So if you have tried the other one and you want to try a different one, this one is for you. I got a lot of messages after my first one saying that some people out in other countries could not get powdered sugar as easily as granulated sugar, so this one uses granulated sugar. It also uses 100% butter. We also mix it by hand. So let's get to it. First of all, I have in here 2 3/4 cup of all-purpose unbleached, unbromated flour, because we always want to use the purest form of everything we can. Notice that I am also sifting this because we want it to mix really easily, and cocoa powder is really lumpy. So once we get about halfway down, we're going to add our cocoa powder to that, and you can see it's good and lumpy. I'm using Hersey's Special Dark cocoa powder. So we'll go ahead and sift those 2 things together. And when that gets about halfway down, we will add our baking powder. This one has baking powder. In our previous recipe, it did not. So we're gonna go ahead and put a teaspoon of baking powder. And then we're gonna add our 1 3/4 cup of granulated sugar. So we're using granulated this time, not the powdered sugar. Okay, so we'll go ahead and keep sifting all that together. It takes a little bit of work, but it makes the mixing process a lot easier. I always sift cocoa powder for every recipe. You'll see all those little lumps at the bottom. Make it very difficult to get a good mix on there. There's also a pinch of sea salt in with the flour that I did ahead of time. I always prepare all my ingredients ahead of time. The French call that mise en place. It's just having everything in place before you start your recipe, and that way you will not forget anything or you won't mess it up. So, I got our gloves on. Give it a little stir just to mix it up a little further. To this, we're gonna add 2 sticks of butter. This time I got the right quantity of butter. Last time I messed it up. But I'm human, it happens, we adjusted. Make sure that you always refer to the written recipe, not just what you see me do. We're gonna go ahead and break in that butter, just like we do for our other cookie recipes, just like we do for pie dough. Just break it in. This keeps the cookies nice and tender. So for those of you that don't know me, I used to own 2 different baking businesses. One was Down Home Baking Company, where we specialized in all kinds of homemade goodness, everything from scratch. And the other one was Cookies by the Dozen, where we did corporate trays, cookie trays. And we're just gonna pop that in there. And in with our eggs was our vanilla extract. So 2 teaspoons of vanilla extract was also in with that. So we'll just keep moving that around and keeping it incorporated. So let me just talk to you a little bit more as we keep mixing that, because it doesn't get too boring. We're going to use a process where we use the heel of our hand just to push and push. And you'll start to see it get more and more hydrated. It's a little bit of work, but it makes the cookies better, so you want to make sure that all that butter gets incorporated. If it is particularly dry and it's just not coming together, then you can add another egg. But we have a little bit more time to work with it before we get to that point. You can see it'll start to get clumpy, but it will start to hold together. That's what we're looking for. So let's start to mix it together. So I can see that it is a little bit dry, and I'm gonna go ahead and add another egg. If you're working that dough for a little bit and it just isn't coming together and it's looking kind of sandy, you know that you need to add more. So there we go, so we're just gonna add another egg right in there. Put a fresh pair of gloves on and continue mixing. baking is a formula, but you also need to know that you're looking for the right consistency. And after years and years of making cookies every single day, making breads every single day, and pastries, I know what I'm looking for. And so you are going to need a nice moist dough here. There we go. Perfect. That is what we want. We want it to stick together in a nice smooth mass. From here, we're going to place it between two pieces of saran wrap and roll it out. This one does not need to be refrigerated before you roll it and cut it. We'll take a minute or so break to get that in the plastic wrap, and then we'll roll it out. Okay, so now I have our dough that I just transferred from the bowl to two pieces of plastic wrap. So we've got one on the bottom that I dusted with some flour and one on the top. There's a little bit of flour dust on the top of that, which is going to help us out when we try to cut these cookies out. So we're just going to go ahead and roll it out. I always start at the middle, pull back, go forward. Pull back, go forward. I don't really apply much pressure. Just trying to elongate, and we'll go the other direction so we're nice and even. And that is the timer for my peanut butter cookies. Oops. And it depends on how thick you like your cookies. I like mine to have a little bit of density. There, I think we're at a good thickness there. Just run my hand across, make sure we're even. You can feel the thickness so much easier that way. We'll just peel one back and let me grab our cookie cutter. A little star here. And got our pan that is lined with nonstick foil. You can use parchment paper. That's what I happen to have. Just gotta pull that cookie right out of there, place it on there. Come right up underneath your plastic wrap and pull. So we'll get some of these baked off. I have a neighbor that is moving out, so I'm gonna give him some cookies. He's been a great neighbor and I'm sad to see him move. If you find that some are thicker than others and you want to even that out, you just simply put your plastic wrap back on top. Go back over it with your pin, starting on the edges and coming towards the center so that you're all even again. See, you're sort of erasing where you cut out. And then you can fold over the part that you cut. Don't worry about that little excess flour, that doesn't really matter. I'm just gonna re-roll that out. And you're back to your shape that you started with, or at least close enough. And we keep cutting and rolling until we've used all our dough. I'm gonna pop this in a 350-degree oven for about 5 to 6 minutes. Should be all good. And I'll come back and show you what they look like. Alrighty, I'm back. Here is our chocolate sugar cookie stars. Next to that, some gluten-free peanut butter chocolate chip cookies. The chocolate are delicious, just like they are. But you could also royal ice them. You can do your normal decorating on them. And it comes out beautiful because the contrast between the chocolate and the icing is just perfect. It looks beautiful. So I had some leftover dough. I didn't cut it all out because I don't need it all. It freezes wonderfully. So you can cut, what I would recommend is cut them out and then freeze them. Once they're frozen solid on a pan, you can then bag them up and take them out and bake them off as you need them versus having to roll it out frozen and wait for it to thaw and all that stuff. So all I did is I took out scraps, rolled it out flat, rolled it up like a jelly roll, and I'm just gonna cut them in little pieces and just make oval cookies. So they look just like that. And then I'm gonna freeze them. I'm gonna freeze them until they're hard as a rock, throw them in a Ziploc bag, and take them out and bake them as I need them for Christmas cookies. You can add crushed peppermint to them. You could do sprinkles, anything you want, but they really freeze well. Please don't forget to subscribe if you like this video. I have more coming up, especially all throughout the holidays. Take a look at my next one coming up is a hummingbird cake, which is a traditional Southern cake. And I hope you take a look at some of the ones that I have recorded before. Keep in touch. Let me know in the comments if you liked what you've seen, if you have questions. I try to answer everybody's questions. As always, happy bakers. Have a great time baking.